Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action. We're here again with the Warriors of Chaos, going to be taking on the Lizardmen here in the Frozen North, which I can't imagine is very comfortable for the Lizardmen. But anyway, let's not think about that too much. We are here with the Warriors of Chaos after all. Got Kolek Suneater leading the way, backed up by the Summoners of Rage. We've got a Chaos Sorcerer, Lore of Shadows here with Melkos Mystifying Miasma, Enfeebling Foe, and the Penumbral Pendulum. In terms of an infantry corps, we've gone all sword and board, which I have done before and will continue to do. I've talked about it before as well. Chaos Marauders mixed with Chosen, and the Mirror Guard in the center. So the idea here is we're relatively immune to missile fire. And although I didn't actually bring any armor sundering, I figured with Kolek and the Summoners of Rage here, we should have enough elite anti-large AP to deal with the dinos without too much trouble. And one thing to note about Chosen in this particular matchup is that Chosen will beat the brakes off of Temple Guard. Chosen Sword and Board, that is, will just beat the brakes off of Temple Guard one-on-one. They beat all the Lizardmen infantry, no problem. And because they have such high melee defense, monsters actually have a relatively hard time doing damage to them. I've fought, dragons, various monstrous infantry, dinosaurs, all sorts of different kind of monsters with these Chosen Sword and Board, and just because of their absurdly high melee defense, they typically don't take a lot of damage, which is why I tend to use them more often than, say, like the Chosen with Great Weapons or Halberds. They're cheaper, so they allow you to go a bit wider, and that super high melee defense makes them absolute tanks. You can see we've also got a couple of Marauder Horsemen with throwing axes for an auxiliary. For the Lizardmen here, Mazdamundi up on Slock, he's got nets, Curse the Midnight Wind, and Apotheosis. No Ruination of Cities, but he does have Banishment. We've also got a Source Scarvet up on a Carnosaur, one Bastiladon Solar Engine. We've got a couple of Pterodon Riders here. Ooh, actually one Pterodon Rider, one Skink Chief. Some Temple Guard, 3 Temple Guard, and 2 Source Warriors, no shields. So a very small, elite Lizardman army, and let's see how that does for my opponent. You can see we're going to be pushing forward here, obviously, not really too much to worry about. The Skinks on the Pterodons are going to come over and start poking away, probably at the Summoners of Rage. That would be the best and most high-value target for them to shoot at. But yeah, we'll see what they decide to do here. You can see I'm pulling back my Marauder Horsemen to help deal with the Javelins, or sorry, the Pterodons, because I don't want them just sitting here firing for free, so we're going to get some response damage in, and you can see my opponent's happy to take this mainline engagement. We're going to pop a Melkos Mystifying Miasma, and then these Mirror Guard here, you can see, are winning this engagement with the Temple Guard. Even the Mirror Guard, will win that engagement. Over here, this isn't happening totally in a vacuum. There are some throwing axes coming in on the side here, but you can see these Chosen, they're just going to beat the brakes off of these Temple Guard. Very nice Penumbral Pendulum going down, and despite the fact that this Source Scarvet's going to come get involved, it's just not looking good for the Temple Guard here. It looks like we are going to drop some spells there, but you can see those Chosen were winning. I actually have tested it before, but pushing through onto the back line here, we've got Summoners of Rage and Kolek going after Mazdamundi. Yeah, we're going to be able to do some effective damage there. Granted, Mazdamundi has a lot of HP, so we're going to have to cut through a significant amount, but you can see the Temple Guard over on this flank are just losing hard. They're 1v1 with Chosen. Well, not 1v1. There's some Marauders mixed in here as well, and they're just losing out hard. So that's the reason why I like to bring Chosen Sword and Board. For example, in the Vampire matchup, with their 60 melee defense, there's really nothing on the Vampire Count's roster that can do effective damage to them, other than, like, magic. Because they just have such high melee defense, it's really hard to make contact. But over here you can see this Carnosaur's completely surrounded at this point. We've got Chosen and Marauders on all sides. My opponent looking like he's going to drop the Banishment, but then decides not to. Looks like instead he's going to drop Curse the Midnight Wind in this central pocket here, and then probably drop the Banishment over on this other side here. It'd probably be some better value on top of this Chosen and these Chaos Marauders here, but not really sure what's going down there. Oh, looks like the Chain Lightning there from the Summoners of Rage, trying to finish off those Source Warriors, but at this point, here comes the Banishment now, right on top of my Chosen and Marauders. Very nicely done, but at this point, it's probably a little bit too late. The dinos are taking damage. They just don't have the models to stand up to the Chaos Horde here, and despite the fact that Mazdamundi's got a lot of HP, he hasn't been able to pull away from Kolek. And even if he did, I mean, where's he going to go? I mean, he should be unified with this Saurus Scarvet at the very least. But you can see the Scarvet's got the cold-blooded up, so his combat stats are in the dirt, and he's really just not doing any damage to these Chosen over here. And again, that's the reason why I bring these guys, is because, you know, they've been fighting this Carnosaur for quite a while, and they're still a little bit below half HP. So it's just, they're just such strong units because of their melee defense. And the Mirror Guard are pretty close. They have 58 melee defense, so they're almost there in terms of their stats. They're pretty cost effective as well, so definitely like the Mirror Guard and Chosen with shields in this matchup and many others. I figured since we have the anti-large of Kolek and the Summoners of Rage, we really don't need to bring as much anti-large with the infantry. And yeah, you could even do something like bring the Weird Spawn to help augment those Chosen. They would beat down dinos even faster with the Weird Spawn sundering armor and so on. But we'll grab some cinematic action of the Monster Mash as the Carnosaurs finally unified in this pocket here. But at this point, there's just no infantry support left for the Lizardmen. The Saurus Warriors and the Temple Guard are all routed off. It's just Mazdamundi and the Carnosaur here, and they are going to shatter. So victory for the Warriors of Chaos. Well played to my opponent. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. In terms of the army breakdown there, yeah, again, the Chosen really weren't challenged at all by the Lizardmen infantry there, and that's kind of the idea. Same thing with the Mirror Guard. They just cut through those Temple Guard no problem with the magic support and everything, especially. And that leaves Kolek and the Summoners of Rage to get in there and do the damage to the high-value targets like Mazdamundi, the Saurus, Scarvet, and more. The Marauders are mostly just there to fill out bodies, but both the throwing axes did quite well also. I'm quite happy with them in this matchup. The Hounds, I didn't even end up using these guys. they were there to chase down skinks and chameleon skinks, but yeah, I didn't even use them. I actually totally forgot about them. But anyway, didn't end up needing them in particular, just because we were able to overwhelm my opponent so quickly. And yeah, as far as the Lizardman goes, Mazdamundi seems tempting, but I don't think he's the best pick in this matchup. If I had to theory craft, you know, Chaos versus Lizardmen is one of those matchups that can go either way. It really depends on what you bring. That being said, I think you can probably forego Lord Mazdamundi here. I would take Krokar, and I'd probably take him on foot, honestly, because you're going to immediately negate Kolek's anti-large bonus, beyond the fact that if Krokar's standing in a group of infantry, the splash attacks that Kolek does are going to be divided out between himself and all of the infantry standing around him, so he's going to take a lot less damage unless you get caught out one-on-one. But overall, I think Krokar on foot. You guys have seen me take him recently, and I definitely would recommend him in this matchup. Hand of the Gods is a maybe. You know, it can definitely do some good damage to a big target, so you may want to consider taking that, but for the sake of cost, I'll go ahead and leave it to the side for now. Since we're going to need a caster, we'll take a Skink Priest Lore of Heavens. It's a bit risky to have him on foot here, but that, again, makes him easier to hide in another unit of infantry. So we're going to take Harmonic Convergence. Wind Blast, probably not as useful. We're going to take Uranin's Thunderbolt instead, just because this matchup, you know, you tend to see more high armor units, and I find Uranin's Thunderbolt a bit better against armor than Wind Blast. It's also a little bit cheaper in terms of the Winds of Magic cost. And then for infantry, this is where things get a little tricky. I'd probably want one Temple Guard to be Krokar's kind of bodyguard, and then I'd probably honestly just go with a bunch of Saurus Warriors in the front line. Some of you may have seen, I made a video a long time ago, how to make Saurus beat Chosen, but basically you juice them up with Harmonic Convergence and then throw the Curse the Midnight Wind down, and that will debuff the Chosen and buff your Saurus Warriors enough to where they can potentially win. I'm not saying it's a guarantee, but they'll trade a lot more cost effectively, so we'll go ahead and take the Saurus Warriors, especially with the shields, because it gives them better melee defense, which is very, very important. Gary is pretty necessary, I think, in this matchup, so we're going to go grab him. In terms of other units here, there's really a lot of different ways you can go at this point. Bringing a couple of the Cold One Spear Riders might not be a bad idea, just to give you some mobile anti-large AP. Maybe you grab a couple of Skink Cohort with Javelins as well, just to kind of fill out some extra numbers and provide a little bit of extra missile pressure, maybe a couple of Skink Skirmishers as well. Again, same thing. Skink Chief, even on foot, can be pretty effective, especially if you're firing away at Kolek. He's going to be more focused on your larger, high-value targets, so you can kind of run this guy back and use him as kind of the captain of these Skink Skirmishers. Still got about 600 points left, so you know, you could even go through and just add even more numbers of skink cohort. And what this build is going to allow you to do is match the Warriors of Chaos in terms of width, and where the Saurus Warriors are matched up against something other than Chosen, they'll probably win. Where they're matched up against Chosen, they might lose, but if you buff them up with the skink Priest, then they can potentially win, and they trade much more cost effectively at the very least than Temple Guard do. Temple Guard seem nice on paper, but they really don't trade that cost effectively with Chosen with Halberds. Their combat stats aren't that good at the end of the day, so yeah, I definitely would recommend Saurus Warriors. But let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. What do you think of this build? How would you go about fighting Chaos as Lizardmen? I'm sure there are a multitude of different ways you could go about it, so I'm interested to hear your thoughts. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button, so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.